A lot of podcast studios offer editing services, but if you're recording at home, you do not need to outsource it anymore. And honestly, once you see the workflow that I'm about to share with you, it's hard to justify paying extra for it. Hi, Julian here, and I've been editing podcasts and videos for over 10 years now, and today I'll show you a quick way on how to edit a full podcast video right at home using Movavi Video Editor in just 5 simple steps. But before we jump into that, let's just take a step back and let's talk about what we're really trying to do when we edit a podcast. Because you're not just cutting awkward pauses here, you're shaping how a conversation between two people is experienced by the listener. You're deciding where to keep the momentum and where to tighten things up, and where it's okay to slow things down. At the end of the day, a good podcast has a rhythm to it, and when it's done right, the viewer can't notice the cuts at all. And this is exactly what we want, right? Now, with that in mind, let's get into the fun part. Step number 1, import everything into the timeline. All right, start by importing your camera footage and your microphone audio into Movavi. I'll drag the video clip onto the video track at the top and then place the mic audio on the tracks underneath. And since there's more than one speaker, each audio file goes onto a separate track. That way everything stays organized and it is easy to manage. Step number 2, sync the camera and mic audio. This step is really important. We want to sync the camera audio with the microphone audio, because most of the time the audio that is being recorded from the camera is just a reference audio, and the mic audio is a lot cleaner, and that's what we actually want to use in the final edit. To sync them up, I'll zoom into the timeline and line up the audio waveforms, or if there was a clap at the start, I'll just use that as a clear sync point. Once everything is synced, I'll mute the camera audio so we're only working with the clean mic track. And if you're working with 2 camera angles, this is also a good time to organize your shots. Just stack both camera clips on separate video tracks, play them back, and quickly see which angle works best for each part of the conversation so you don't have to worry about that later on. Step number 3, cut the podcast for flow. Next, we start trimming the conversation. I'll play through the podcast and listen for anything that slows it down, like pauses, mistakes, or moments where someone restarts a sentence. When I hear one, I'll click on the clip, use the split tool, and cut out just that section. Now, one thing to keep in mind is I'm not trying to cut out every breath here, because that's going to make it sound robotic, and that's not what we want. So to keep it as natural as we can, we only cut parts that feel distracting or pull you out of the conversation. And as I'll go, I'll just play sections back to make sure it flows and it still feels very smooth. This step alone makes the podcast much easier and much more enjoyable to watch. Step number 4, clean and balance the audio. Now it's time to make sure everything sounds balanced. I'll start by selecting the mic track and opening the audio tools. If there is any background noise, I'll turn on noise removal to clean that up. From there, I'll just apply some basic corrections to help the voice sound clearer and much more consistent. Nothing heavy, but just to make sure that it is comfortable to listen to. And then I'll check the volume levels across all speakers. If one voice is louder than the other, I'll adjust the volume so everything feels even. Step 5, add intro, outro, and music. The last step is to add the finishing touches. If you're using an intro or outro, drag these clips onto the timeline and place them at the start or at the end of the episode. Similarly, if you have a sponsored segment, you can also add that part in the middle or at the 30 to 40% mark of the video. For music, I'll add it on a separate audio track underneath the voices and lower the volume so that it stays subtle and it doesn't compete with the actual conversation. I'll also add a quick fade in and fade out just so that everything comes in and ends smoothly. This part, by the way, is totally optional, but it does add a nice and professional touch to the final podcast. And this is basically the entire workflow. Once you understand the goal, editing a podcast at home becomes pretty straightforward and something you can repeat for every episode. If you have any questions or if there is a part of the entire process that you would like to see in more detail, drop a comment down below. And if you want to try it for yourself, download Movavi Video Editor and use the code VLOG20 to get 20% off. The link is down in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.